This is Mirabella's Kitchen, and today I'm making butter chicken burritos. If you'd like to cook with me, please check the description below for a list of the ingredients and a shout out to my patrons, Dennis, Andrea, Daryl, and Melissa. Thanks, guys. I start by taking one large yellow onion and dicing it. I'm going to separate this into two separate portions, about half an onion for each portion. Next, I take one whole head of garlic and I take each clove and crush it. I'm going to separate them into three separate portions, about a tablespoon each. Next, I'm taking 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs and cutting them into bite-sized pieces. And man, I look so serious while I would film this video. I'm going to pair this with some Papadum, which are crispy Indian crackers. I take a piece and put it into some hot oil for about 2 to 3 seconds. It bubbles right up. I put it on a paper towel. It gets nice and crispy. I'm also making butter garlic rice. I take a tablespoon of butter, melt it, add in half of an onion. I let that get translucent and add in a tablespoon of garlic. Mix that around and add a cup and a half of white rice. And I'm going to let this cook for about 3 minutes, stirring frequently. Next, I add in 2.5 cups of chicken broth. I'm gonna let this come up to a boil and add some freshly ground black pepper and coarse kosher salt before turning this down over low heat and covering it after one final stir and letting this cook for about 17 minutes. I'm gonna go back to the chicken and add 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. I'm also going to add 1 tablespoon of garlic, 1 tablespoon of ginger paste, some coarse kosher salt, about a half teaspoon, about 1.5 tablespoons of Kashmiri Chili powder, and half a teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. Mix that really well and let this sit for 15 minutes. Forgot to film this, but there's another tablespoon of butter and 3 tablespoons of cilantro in that rice. I'm going to let it stay warm with the cover on. And back to the chicken. So I have my chicken browning in batches over medium-low heat because of the type of pan I'm using, but high heat is ideal. I stir it frequently to brown each side. I'm gonna remove it from heat. And then I'm going to take some butter in the same pan, melt it, and add the other half of the onion and let this become translucent, breaking up any brown fond that's on the bottom of the pan as the onions cook down. I then add in another tablespoon of garlic, a tablespoon of ginger paste, and mix that together until fragrant. Next, I add in a tablespoon of garam masala, a teaspoon of ground cumin, a teaspoon of turmeric powder, a teaspoon smoked paprika, and a teaspoon Kashmiri chili powder. I mix this until it is fragrant, and then I add in 1/4 cup of tomato paste, stirring this around before adding 1/2 cup of water and mixing everything until it's nice and incorporated. It starts to thicken. I then add in a cup of heavy whipping cream, and I like to stir in these circular motions to really incorporate it nicely. I let this start to heat up and I add another teaspoon of turmeric and Kashmiri chili powder along with some coarse kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. Mix it together and add the chicken back in. I coat the chicken in the sauce and let this sauce finish cooking for about 5 minutes, realizing that I don't really have a lid that works for this pan, but I'm gonna improvise. I give the chicken another stir And now I'm gonna make my burrito. So I have a restaurant style tortilla. I add some rice. I add some of the buttered chicken with some sauce and some papadum, and I wrap it up nice and tight. Give it a nice slice, and that is buttered chicken burritos. Thanks so much for joining me today. I make new videos on cooking every week. Please support me on Instagram at Mirabella_kitchen and Facebook and Patreon at Mirabella's Kitchen.